I used to move around a lot. I get the feeling a lot of writing about unpacking is going to start this way, but it's true. My dad was often relocated to a different market in his industry, and he loved real estate. You know, before the bubble popped and he lost everything he had. I'm getting ahead of myself. Unpacking is a casual puzzle game, and it's what it says on the tin. You open up boxes, pull things out from the top, find a place to set them down, and try to keep things organized. Witchbeam, the developers of Unpacking, call it a Zen experience. I would agree if it hadn't made me feel a specific kind of melancholy I haven't felt since realizing I don't talk to anyone I knew in high school anymore. Still not sure whether or not that's a good thing. When you move around a lot, you tend to compartmentalize your life between one location and the next. This could mean packing all your memories into columns of where you lived at the time, maybe grouping them into the schools you were attending, or by the number of years between moves. This is what Unpacking does. Every level is a single moment between a span of time, revealing a change of locale and answers a big question. What have we been up to? Moving around begins to have this tremendous effect on what I'm going to call our materialistic priorities. I'm not an academic. I don't know if that's a real thing. It's what I'm gonna call it though. The harsh reality of picking everything up and putting it somewhere else is you can't always bring all of it with you. You start to get a good feel for the physical possessions which truly matter. These can be hardcore necessities for work, hobbies you've heavily invested into, like a collection of games or books, and sentimental trinkets or toys you've held on to your entire life. In a pinch, you're able to distill your possessions into a tightly packed core of items with strong ties to who you are. At a glance, these are the tangible objects which define you. If someone were to look at your living space, the items you've placed inside of it would bear your mark. They would tell a story about you, down to where they are placed. In Unpacking, we never see our protagonist. We are only granted glimpses into their life through their environment and their possessions. We open the box, and we begin to learn. They're an artist. They love tabletop RPGs. Their character's a bard. They're a big fan of the GameCube. Basic interests and hobbies are just a small facet of someone's identity, but a busy living room gives away a close relationship to roommates. Magnets on the fridge hold up candid photos of beloved friends and family. It might sound silly, but I'm sure you've already begun to form an idea in your mind of who this person might be. Of course, a static assortment of items could never tell us enough about a person to know them. But what if it changed over time? As we continue to play and jump ahead to later years, the items in the box are never entirely the same. The people in the photos have changed. The artist's creations take on new moods or pay homage to deceased pets who were themselves parting gifts from old housemates. And yet, the adorable pig plushie continues to stay by their side. Their favorite mug gets recycled into a toothbrush holder. The objects we cherish and hold on to, no matter what, tend to be our sources of comfort, of inspiration, of growth. Revolving around them, a collection of things, each shouldering an aspect of this responsibility, at times relieved of duty or regretfully departed from. We learn more through the difference in what it is we're unpacking than we do through any individual unpacking level. Not just about who this person is, but ourselves. The objects in Unpacking tell us about the character and help us emotionally connect with them, but where we place those objects reveals a great many things about who we are. I painstakingly tried to stuff traditional art materials away in drawers and cabinets before realizing I needed the space for bigger toys like soccer balls and board games. I tried color coordinating the video game cases and put the spatula inside the same drawer as the silverware. I refused to put anything on top of the fridge unless I absolutely had to for the sake of organization, because I'm very short. But aside from a few exceptions, Unpacking doesn't have hard requirements for where things need to go. As long as you don't leave anything on the floor which isn't supposed to be on the floor, how you choose to decorate the spaces you have access to is ultimately up to you. It's an entirely personal experience, influenced by your own upbringing, environment, and preferences. There's a very handy camera and replay function, which can also turn your entire process for one room into a handy GIF you can share with your friends. I highly recommend you show each other your builds. There's a lot of insight to be found about what you feel is important for any given space, and it's the sort of thing you learn best by watching how others approach the same task. Go to your room and look around you. What do you own? Whose picture do you have sitting on your nightstand or in your living room? Where do you keep your games? How do you store your clothes? Does anything in your room have deep sentimental value to you, and how long have you had it? How long have you had any of these things, and is there something you used to have that you miss right now? Is there a possession you're glad you no longer own, or was there something you had to get rid of because it hurt too much to have? When was the last time you had it, and where were you when you did? Not just physically where, but emotionally. Where are you now? How do you feel now? Questions like this beget simple yet thoughtful answers, but we rarely ask ourselves them. That is, until we open the box. Moving itself begins to take on an almost spiritual significance. It's a liminal experience, a transition from one state of being to the next. What Unpacking truly understands, however, is that the moving process isn't as important to this renewal as unpacking our things is. Up until we start putting things down into a new home, nothing is certain. Our lives are transient. Where we sleep is up to personal promises or strict itineraries we need to follow to the letter. You can't go back to where you called home, and hundreds of things could happen before you touch ground at wherever home is next. More than that, our reasons for moving can either be exciting or depressing. A bad breakup is one thing, but imagine going through the admin of sorting out leasing contracts, scheduling a moving truck, finding somewhere new, and then having to interact with your ex for however long all of that takes. There's no time to process your feelings about it. There's no break from them to allow for getting over your relationship while you're still there. It isn't until you're sitting on the floor of your parents' house, pulling all your things out of a box, permanently colored with memories of a time you might not want to remember, that you can finally let go of those feelings. Unpacking your life from these boxes is the catharsis. It's the end of an entire chapter, tragic or wonderful, and the beginning of a new, blank set of pages. You stare at an old photo and tuck it into a shoebox. You pull out an old poster and hang it up on the wall for the first time in ages. With every item finding its place, the new chapter begins, and we find closure for the loose ends we left behind. We can look forward to what's ahead. This sounds dramatic, I know. When I was about 15 years old, my parents lost all their money in a real estate crash. Dad lost his life savings, mom lost her job. They lost pretty much everything. It got so bad we had to rent out our home to someone else because we couldn't afford to live there ourselves. So the 6 of us moved into my grandmother's 2-bedroom apartment. The room was about 11 by 11 feet. We had a bunk bed with a queen mattress on the bottom bunk, a twin on the top, and another twin pull-out bed underneath. That's about the only thing that room could fit inside it. Unlike in Unpacking, I never saw most of my things again. There was no box to break open and pull what I owned out of. There was never a conclusive moment where I knew, finally, we'd found a new home. I can safely say I felt adrift in my own thoughts, and that time being cramped in a room with so many people on a daily basis did a lot to escalate my anxiety. It wasn't until my last year of high school that we had finally been able to move back in. I remember feeling so strange. 1, because I recognized where I was, but it felt brand new to me, and 2, because it had been the first time in my entire life that I had finally gotten my own room. I was 17. I started putting what I owned into new furniture and was immediately overcome with a slurry of emotions. All I could do was grapple with the reality I had gone through and put something in a drawer. Feel how much more irritable I was since the last time I was here, and hang my clothes. Ask myself if I should even be happy about having my own room and setting my mementos along my dresser. Proof that I had been up to something, somewhere, since the last time I had a second to think in private. And then I laid on my bed and stared at the ceiling for a few minutes and accepted the experience had changed me more than I had wanted. I accepted I was a different person than I was the last time I had been here. And it took that long because I couldn't open the box. I couldn't process my thoughts or my feelings about going through something like that until I was finally certain I wasn't dealing with it anymore. And you're gonna laugh, but that certainty wasn't with me until I put away that first set of boxer briefs into my underwear drawer. I've never underestimated the significance of literally unpacking since. I've never underestimated the power of metaphorically unpacking since either. It isn't always so simple as taking things out or processing your grief or finding closure as you look on to new horizons, though. Our world isn't just our things and our experiences. It's the people alongside us, the people we choose to cohabitate with, the people we love, and the people we hate. If our possessions represent who we are in unpacking and the act of taking them out, thinking on them, and placing them in a shelf a form of self-reflection and acceptance, then the ways in which those possessions fit inside an already lived-in space and how they interact with another's possessions is finding someone to express ourselves with. It's the outward part of unpacking, the sharing of where we've come from and where we'd like to go, the joy of being accepted, the fear of being rejected, the empathy in knowing whoever you're sharing the space with has their own experiences to share. At times, your things seem to fit right in upon showing up to somewhere new. It's a bit cramped and definitely messy, but it works. There seems to be just enough space for you, almost like you've filled a space which needed filling. The space can also reject you, or can feel indifferent to you being there. It's inflexible and asks you to make a ton of concessions in order to exist. You're forced to put in more work than you're already doing in order to be accepted. Nothing you add to the space changes it. Nothing you do to it seems to give off your presence. It's as if you, just like your possessions, are background dressing to whoever else lives there. When you've been put through that, you try not to do it to anyone else. Indeed, when on the other side of this coin, when someone else is doing the unpacking, it's a good gesture to make space for them to do so. And when they do, what's theirs can complement yours. You get to see what you share in common. You learn about them in ways you never would otherwise. The more that's unpacked, the more the home you share together begins to resemble your relationship. When my things and your things become our things, we unpack together. Our lives become intertwined. Those items we bring with us from place to place now share memories for the both of us. We acquire new sentimental values to new objects. Together we say goodbye to older ones and let go of parts of our past we're ready to disarm. We make space for new memories, ones we'll make together. I'm not sure when the next time I'll be unpacking is. I admit, I hope it isn't for a while now. I feel like there's so much left for me to do in this chapter. Things I can't quite let go of until I make happen. But unpacking gave me a moment to find acceptance and look forward to the future. It gave me the space to unpack my life while I unpacked someone else's. We can't guarantee everything will turn out well for us, and there's nothing which says everything won't, but at the very least, we'll always have a chance to think back on it before we put it back on the shelf or hang it in our closet and take the next step. It's nice to know that whatever happens, there will always be another home, another set of rooms, and another set of boxes waiting for us to unpack them. What do you think? 2 videos in a month, pretty good, right? Hey, listen, if you like my content, you like what I do, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? Hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll see you all at the next one, and I hope you have a great day. See you later.